To be a light for others, you first have to be a light for yourself. That is the message from the moon on this Leo last quarter moon happening November 11th, 2025. Now, before I get too far, I want to say this episode blew me away doing the research. It is probably my favorite episode so far, so I'm so excited to dig in. Leo is the sign that is ruled by the sun, which represents the self. Hence the focus on being a light for yourself in the moon's message here. And this is the last quarter too, though, which if you've been here a while, you know very well that this is all about letting go of what is weighing us down. So this episode is all about how to figure out what to let go of so we can first be that strong light for ourselves and then show up and be a light, a positive force for good for others. Like I said, it's a good one. Here we go. Hi, I'm Laura Kusto, and this is the Moon Method. Now, a decade or so ago, I took my love of math, systems, and patterns and married it with modern spirituality. And what I've discovered was that our world is full of spiritual modalities. But what most of them lack are the frameworks that many people need to feel comfortable exploring them. So I'm here to change all of that. I build spiritual systems for strategic minds, and our starting point in all of our weekly frameworks is the moon. It's our closest celestial neighbor. It moves the most in the sky, and therefore it has the most to say to us. But it also has a predictable, repeatable pattern, one that oversees our emotions and it pulses through each of us. We've just never been taught to hear it. So if you would like to start learning how to listen to that rhythm, go grab my free guide. It's called the Moon Phase Compass, and in it, I break down that rhythm of the moon, and I teach you how to hear it and how to start working with it. It's simple foundational knowledge that will enable you to start working with the moon's rhythm right away. And the best part, the moon's rhythm repeats every single month, so this is something that will never become irrelevant. Okay, the guide is free. Go grab it today at laurakusto.com/guide, and there'll be a link for that at the top of the show notes. Okay, let's talk about this Leo last quarter moon. And like I said, this episode is my favorite thus far. The energies that I saw when I was doing the research blew me away, and I'm so excited to dig into it. So how do we work with this Leo last quarter moon, use the energies, and what is happening here so that we can become a light for others? Well, like I said, the moon's message got us started. We have to first be a light for ourselves. And I'm going to break this down, as always, into a few logical steps using the pattern the moon has made and some systems and frameworks that we can all use to work with this energy for the good of our future selves and for the good of all. All right, so step one, we're going to view the whole story. And in this case, the story we're talking about is this story in Leo, right? The last quarter we're having is in Leo. Now, the moon and the planets are always speaking to us, but the moon especially, it leaves breadcrumbs too. By progressing through its moon phases at predictable intervals, and also as it does that, hitting the same spot in the sky over and over and over again. That's why I love working with the moon. The pattern and the framework is so obvious and repeatable. So we not only look up in the sky and see what's happening now, but we can reference dates in the past where the moon was at the same point, and we notice what was going on then and then tie these themes together, okay? So at this last quarter, we've got 3 other dates because we're at the end of the story here. The moon is in its last phase and we're releasing, right? I mentioned that at the top of the show. What we're trying to figure out here is, what do I need to release so that I can become a better person, a stronger person, a brighter light for myself so I can be a better light for others? Okay, so here are the dates that you'll be looking back to for clues. The first one is August 16th, 2023. That's when we had a new moon in Leo and when you would have set intentions. Now, if you're working with the moon consciously back then and you were writing them down, go grab your notes. If you weren't, don't sweat it. we're always working with the moon's energies, regardless of if we're conscious of it or not. So go back and look at your calendar, your photos, and your camera roll. Look at your sent and received emails, maybe even social media, and just see what was going on. And I would encourage you to do this even if you have notes, because what's really important here is to unearth the state of mind that you were in. What vibration were you in? Were you in a positive state of mind, or was there some negativity going on and your self-talk, maybe wasn't so good? Because that's energy that you're putting out. And at the new moon, the moon is listening and it's asking, tell me what you want. And, when you put out energy that isn't great at the new moon, the moon's picking that up and it's kind of thinking, oh, well, maybe they don't want goodness. Okay, so it's just important to really note that. The next date, May 15th, 2024. That was when we had a first quarter in Leo, right at the same point in the sky. Now, at a first quarter, it's all about taking action. So you're going to want to look back and see what you did. How did you interact with the external world? What actions did you take? Conversations you had, commitments you made, things you started doing, things you signed up for. And it can also be things that you stopped doing. But again, you're looking for actions that you took. All right. And then the third date is going to be the full moon that we had in Leo on February 12th, 2025. Okay. And on this date, what you're looking for is culmination points. What happened? What was going on? What transpired in the world around you? Again, it's outward. Really, these 3 dates, it's the analogy of working with a garden is what we often use. You plant the seed on the new moon, August 16th, 23. You water it, you fertilize it on the first quarter, May 15th, 24. And then what bloomed on February 12th, 2025. So look at those dates to get started. But now I have 2 more things for you here to help you get even more specific. First, Leo rules an area of your chart. So what is that? Is it your money? Is it your career, your health, your home? So if you know your chart and you have it, go grab it and find it, okay? That's one really great way to narrow this down. Now, if you're curious about this and you don't have your chart and you don't really know what I'm talking about, it's actually not that hard to find, and I have 2 ways I can help you. The first is through a short course that I developed called Moon Map. In the course, I take you through step-by-step, very clear steps to help you find what we call your map. And when you get your map, you're going to find out what area of your life Leo oversees for you. And you're also going to get all the other 11 zodiac signs too. So if you get your map, you can use it not just now for Leo, but you can use it next week when we're going to have a new moon, and the following week for a first quarter. You can use it forever and ever for the rest of your life for every single moon phase. Okay, that's at laurakusto.com/map. And then the second way I can help is through my membership called Moon Chat. Now, Moon Chat simplifies all of this. And if you sign up for that 2 days before every single moon phase, I send you a custom email that tells you the area of life being activated. I walk through what the moon phase is, the dates that are linked to it, as well as a custom message from me that gets a little deeper into how to work with these energies. I don't talk about that here on the show. So that is at laurakusto.com/membership. There'll also be links for those at the top of the show notes. Okay, so that's step 1. We're looking at the whole story based on those dates, and we're maybe narrowing it down to the area of life. But now, here in step 2, oh my gosh, this is where the exciting part happens for this episode. And we're going to go a little deeper here, because when I saw this and it happened, all of those dates, all of those moon phases that I just mentioned, it blew my mind. Okay, so step 2, I'm going to say what the step is, and then I'm going to explain why this is so unique and amazing. So step 2 is this: find the Easter egg. Go find the surprise. Sounds like fun, right? Okay, but what do I mean? All right, here's the super amazing thing about all those dates that I gave you. Again, the new moon, the first quarter, and the full moon from step 1. And also this last quarter happening November 11th. Again, those were dates when the moon was in each of those moon phases, but also when the moon was right around that 20 to 24 degrees of Leo. Well, the planet Uranus on those first 3 dates, the new moon, the first quarter, and the full moon, was at 23 degrees of Taurus. And you're like, Laura, 23 of Taurus? Who cares? Well, no. 23 Taurus is exactly 90 degrees away from 23 degrees of Leo, which puts Uranus on all three of those first moon phases in an exact angle of tension with the moon. Meaning all three of those first phases were infused with an element of Uranus. Uranus energy was sort of poking away at what was going on with all of us emotionally. Okay, so now you're probably like, okay, well, what is Uranus energy? All right, well, Uranus, it's the unexpected, it's the unconventional, it's the surprise. It is, in short, the Easter egg, as some people like to call it. It's what you didn't see coming. Now, Uranus, I'll mention this too, it also oversees technology. So it could also be technology or an element of unexpectedness or surprise with respect to technology. Okay, and now you're probably wondering, well, that's where it was on the first three phases. Where is it now? Where is it on the last quarter? It's a good question. It's at 29 degrees of Taurus. So it's moved on, but it's still in a slight angle of tension. It's very operational, but it's at 29 degrees. And there's two things about what it's doing right now. 29 degrees is what we call the anaretic degree. It's the last degree of a sign, which is very, very powerful. It's sort of just eking out, and like imagine you're trying to finish a race and you're going to give it your all right at that finish line, right? It's like that final push. So the energy of Uranus is really powerful now, but it's also retrograde. And with retrograde, what that means is relative to us here on the Earth, Uranus appears to be moving backwards in the sky, right? And so what that means energetically is that it is actually going back over themes that have already happened before. And it's really doing somewhat of a review of them, okay? Which is powerful in and of itself. But this is a last quarter moon too, which is literally what we do at a last quarter. We look back over the whole story that's unfolded. So seriously, folks, I can't believe I'm saying this. Like, I couldn't dream this up on my own. This is super exciting. Not only is the moon phasing through its pattern in Leo, but Uranus has been right there all along, dancing with it in Taurus. And now here we are at the last quarter, being called to review the story, and Uranus is retrograde, which it wasn't retrograde, by the way, on those first three phases, all the way back to 2023. Yes, it has periods of retrograde every year, but it wasn't during those times. It's super cool. So again, step 2 here, we're looking for the Easter egg. Look at those dates and possibly the area of life, but especially look for what is unusual, out of the ordinary, and unexpected, especially with respect to your experience, because this is Leo, the sign ruled by the sun, which represents the self. So the unexpected may not be in what outwardly happened, but in how you feel about it. Are you not wanting to behave the same ways that you've always behaved when, say, something has happened? Or do you want to take a different approach that others may think is new and unconventional? Okay, that sort of thing. All right, that's step 2. Finally, step 3. This is all about releasing what is dimming your light. And here, what we're doing is bringing these clues together. And the big clue we need to lean into for finding the answer of what is dimming the light is Uranus. It's that element of surprise, the unconventional, the unexpected, perhaps layered in with some influence of technology, right? But that's where to look. That's the key. Yes, it's unconventional, but Uranus has been journeying with us alongside the moon here this entire time, this last 27 months. It's poking at us, nudging us, encouraging us, and bringing things up. And here on the last quarter, Uranus is retrograde again. It's giving us the opportunity to review all of this at this phase of the moon when we're called to do a review. It's the last quarter. We take it all in The seeds we planted, the nurturing of those seeds that we planted, and what bloomed or culminated back in February. And now we've had some time for that to settle into our reality, and we harvest. We make amends with it. We let go of the old ways, the person that we think we should be, and we embrace the unconventional aspects of ourselves that are authentic to us. Authentic being the key word here, okay? This isn't grasping onto something unconventional for the sake of being different. It's acknowledging something that is true to us, something within us. The sun is in Scorpio right now, and that's about looking really deep, deep within. Remember, as the moon is making its phases here, it's been in Leo, but the sun hasn't been. It's moving around the other fixed signs, which is how we get these angles of the moon and how the moon changes its shape. So on the full moon, the sun was in Aquarius. On the first quarter, the moon was in Taurus. And of course, on the new moon, it was in Leo. But here at the closing phase, at the last quarter, it's in Scorpio, which at its core, Scorpio is so very real and very raw and deep and thorough. It is such great energy to do this review of ourselves. And we do get this dynamic every single year about this time. The sun is in Scorpio and we get a Leo last quarter moon, a last quarter review of a story that's transpired in Leo. And it's a review of the emotional self, right? Because Leo is the sign of the self. Moon is our emotion. But with the sun in Scorpio, it's this deep, deep sign. So these energies are so great here in the fall in the Northern Hemisphere for doing this. But here's what we won't get every single year, is this dynamic with Uranus. I don't know if we will ever again in our lifetime see this angle, not this angle of tension anyway. We might have something similar when Uranus gets into Leo, which is the next fixed sign on its path. But that's going to be in about 36 years, okay? So do your review. Embrace the unexpected and the unconventional truth that is you. And shed whatever is getting in your way from embracing that. Because that is what is dimming your light. So bringing it back to the main message here and the title of this episode, how to be a light for others. Well, you can't be a light for others until your light is bright for yourself. The world needs more bright lights. I think that's something that we can all agree on. There are a lot of people in need, and their needs are varied. So let's know that and rest in that truth. This comes down to being who we are uniquely designed to be. It comes down to being our best authentic self. And really, our best self is authentic. Because when we're working really hard to hide pieces of ourselves, we're putting all that effort into hiding things, and we can't simply shine. Being authentic is lighter. It's less work. And as a result, your light shines brighter. Okay? So that is a wrap for this week. I really hope it's been helpful. And I know I've said it before, but I'm going to say it one more time. This was so much fun putting this episode together. That pattern with Uranus, truly amazing. So I really hope you enjoyed it. Okay, with that, I'd love to hear from you after all that. So what are you noticing? What's your unique thing? What is your Easter egg that's been blocked from the light? And what's got to go? What's got to go so that can shine brighter, all right? Drop that in the comments below. All right, I'm wishing you lots of love this Leo last quarter. Get out there and make it count. And remember, the moon's got your back, and apparently Uranus on this one too. All right, until next week, as always, take care.